Are you ready to live more authentically and explore who you truly are? Would you love to know how to get there? Hi, I am Jamie Graham Duprey, teacher, author, coach, and host of The Second Half. Throughout the show, we will consider how we can be people who show up honestly, speaking in truth and love, and vulnerably, sharing and reflecting on life experiences. You will be encouraged to make connections in your life that will dare you to explore powerful growth, personally, vocationally, and spiritually. Are you ready to consider how to develop and nurture a growth mindset, take ownership of your life, and create action steps that lead you to being bold, brave, and healthy? The second half starts now. Good morning. I'm your host, Jamie Graham Duprey, and today I have a special guest, Coach Brian Henderson, with me, and I'll let him introduce yourself. Coach, can you say hello?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me on, Jamie. This is such a cool deal, which obviously doesn't surprise me at all, but love the whole concept of the podcast itself and where you're going with everything. And I think it's great for other people out there to be able to get a slice of Jamie every now and then. So that's good for everybody. As Jamie mentioned, I'm Brian Henderson. I was her college basketball coach, and I'm from Billings. I'm married to a wonderful, beautiful woman, Lynanne Henderson, and we have 4 incredible kids: Danny, Jace, Brooks, and Bo, and 1 grandson, Braden, who is 14 and now taller than his grandpa. So feeling older every day. And then Jamie turns 40, and that made me feel even worse. So but I'm really glad you allowed me to come on here so I can vent. I can get some of this old autumn off my chest a little bit.
Oh, okay. You did the bait and switch on me, huh? I should have known. Okay, awesome. Well, yes, thanks for saying yes to this. And today, the topic, we titled this episode Self-Reflection, which seems appropriate. A year and a half ago, I came out with a second memoir. It's called The Green-Clad Kicker, a true story of love, sports, and college. And it chronicles my time through my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year at Rocky Mount College in Billings, where Coach, as he said, was my basketball coach. And he's a big character in this book, a big part of this. And so after I finished the manuscript and started with the edits, he was one of the first people that I had to read through it. And we got to share and reflect on, what his thoughts were and memories and things like that. And it was just really, really special. So today, I just wanted to start with one of my first memories, Coach, when we met. It was at my recruiting trip. You'd been up to Chester to watch a high school game and, seen us probably in other tournaments and things like that. But I went to an official visit in December after basketball, because at that time the seasons were switched. And I said yes immediately. I remember I didn't even say anything to my parents. I'm like, I want to come here. And my dad's like, don't you want to visit any other colleges? And I just, for, several reasons, but one big one was just who you were. And I just could tell right away what a great guy you were and you are. And that was really important to me. So I just wanted to share that. I remember walking across the campus and, just the way, you'd hold the door and just how easy it was to chat with you. And you could tell you cared more about just basketball and just winning. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you. That really means a lot to me, because that's what coaching to me was all about, was about the relationship with players. Obviously, my love of basketball runs deep and very destructive to me, but it's been it's been the playing field for most of my life to play out on. And but it's given me opportunities, to create relationships that, I may not have had, um, had I not gone into coaching or been in coaching. And so, I'm glad that actually stuck out to you, though, because that was, that's what I feel was, you know, a big part of being a coach, is being able to have that relationship. And, you probably remember we talked a lot about, like, the life lessons you learn from sports. And, that I felt was kind of, you know, goal one. Maybe if it would have been goal one, we maybe would have won more games. Maybe I had really focused in the wrong area. But I always felt like, sports gives us an opportunity to learn about life, you know, pretty innocently and pretty quickly sometimes. And so, I'm glad that has resonated. That's something that kind of resonated with you. And, I think for the most part, the years that I spent at Rocky, we were pretty blessed to be surrounded by an incredible group of people. Some of the girls that you played with were just phenomenal people. I mean, just great basketball players too. That was the bonus, obviously, but we really did try to recruit people that had high character, off the floor as well as on the floor. So that was a product of, all of us, I think, together. So
yeah.
Sure. And, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but you were actually my very first signee. Did you know that?
I don't know if you've told me that or not. That's
because,
pretty cool.
I got the job in the spring. So after the season before, when I was Scott Severance's assistant coach,
right.
And then he stepped over to be full-time faculty member. And so then they gave me the job, probably more because they just didn't want to do interviews. I don't know. I didn't ask. I just took it. But we pretty much had our recruits set by then. And so you were actually my first, like my first signee. So, and I'll never forget that trip to Chester. I'll tell you what, your parents are incredible. Your mother's a saint, your dad is an absolute legend up there. And I was so intimidated walking in there. And I know I'm not the only person in Chester at that time that was maybe intimidated a little bit by your dad. Okay. Because I've talked to some of the boys that grew up, with you and your brother and stuff. And so I don't feel so bad now, but
That's
yeah,
right.
great people. You had such a great family. So it was, I
Thanks.
remember that trip very well.
Thank you. And I know, like, when my husband went up to Chester for the first time, you knew this because you were from the High Line anyway. He thought, where in the world are we going? Where are you taking me?
Like, does it ever end?
Yeah. So that was quite a trip to take. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's really nice to hear too. And great job with your first pick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hit a home run with that. Sure.
So we got to chat the other day just to touch base before today's show, and I wanted to ask you some of the things that stuck out to you when you read the book, and when some of the stuff that you already mentioned, just the names and thinking of some of those great people that we had relationships with. What else did you reflect on or think about when you read through and thought about that era?
Well, just, like almost every name that, you brought up in the book, whether it was one of your teammates or one of your friends, Jeremy, and all of his crowd of crazies, and what a great group of people. Like, you were lucky in high school. You went through all through grade school, high school with a really special group of people. And then, God smiled on you, and you deserve it. You came into Rocky and you were blessed with a group of really cool people in your class as well. Jeremy and all of his friends. So it was not just teammates, names that you mentioned in the book that kind of took me back a little bit, but it was some of the guys, that
Yeah.
were hanging around that were your guys' best friends and stuff. And then the whole courting, Jeremy courting Jamie thing, and, we all love that because, I mean, you guys were two of the favorite people on campus. And so, the fact that you guys found each other, was a lot of fun, I think, for everybody to see that play out. But some of the other things that, stick out, I just love the way you interweave your basketball experience in with your whole life experience of college.
Mhm.
I thought you did a great job of that. And, just as well as in the All Sports Bra, both books, I just love the way you weave that. And,
Thanks.
you talk about, your emotions, what's on your mind and the feelings. And it just takes you, you do such a great job of taking everybody back. But for those of us that were there, in that moment with you, boy, I think that probably has to evoke a lot of extra emotions for us. There was a lot of hard times, on the basketball team, and there's a lot of things and I guess this is kind of, to the theme of self-reflection, but this, one of the things that I found that I was doing after I read your book was, and I've done this ever since I got out of coaching, but reflecting on that time and, the things that, we did, a lot of things that I was super proud of, things that I look at now and go, you're an idiot, and, why did I think that or say that or do that? But I do think that that's pretty normal. I look at the rest of my life and have the same feelings.
Mhm.
So, I was probably just as big of an idiot as a coach as I am as a actual person. So, but self-reflection is awesome. And, that's what I think that book evoked for me was, it just took me back to that time. And I think there's so much value in that, so, for that, I have to thank you, I guess, and we should all thank you, all of the people, the characters. I got mine right here too, by the way. All
Nice.
of us characters in the book should be able to thank you because it gives us a chance to actually go back and do the self-reflection and look at, where was I at then and, where am I at now? And, all the things about your podcast, I think that are so valuable to people.
I'm so glad to hear that that's what is happening for you because that was my hope. A big part of it, exactly what you just said, is to reflect on who we were, honor it, name it, wonder about what we were proud of, and then in ways that we've grown or can hope to. Um, so we're about to take just our little halftime break here for a couple minutes. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more, maybe share a couple specific stories from the book, and then continue to talk about how self-reflection can serve us in healthy ways as we consider our second half. So we will see you all in just a couple minutes on the second half of the second half. Welcome back to the second half. I'm Jamie Graham Duprey, and today I'm talking to my high school basketball coach, Brian Henderson, and we are talking about self-reflection and the power in that, and using my memoir, The Green-Clad Kicker, to talk about the time when our paths crossed for the first time when I was a student athlete at Rocky Mountain College and he was my coach. And some of the things that we highlighted when we talked about this a couple of days ago was the power of perspective, the power of communication, the power of relationships. And we added humor to that, the importance of not always taking ourselves so seriously. And Coach, you and I think we've always had that not only in common but just in our interactions. And then if Kelly Edwards or Peter Humphreys Loving were around, that would just add to the to the opportunity to infuse humor. And you also mentioned the analogy of a Venn diagram. Can you talk a little bit more about that when you reflect back on this time?
Yeah. So, when you and I were talking the other day, one of the things when I was reading the book was, you do such a great job of, putting the reader in your shoes, and not just, physically, but like we get your emotion, we understand, and not just your emotion, like the emotions of everybody around you. Like you just, it's such a good read. But I was also, when I was kind of, as I was reading, then I pause and reflect on some things and stuff like that. And since I'm in the book, it causes you to kind of look at it from, oh yeah, that time, this time, that, or that game, you're talking about that game, and it brings up those memories. And sometimes, the perspective of coach in those moments is also different, and we talked about the Venn diagram being the fact that, this is what you're sharing with everybody is everything that was in your life and in your world right there. And then I was thinking at the same time, kind of what was going on in our world.
Right.
Lynette and I had 4 kids, which you were lucky enough to
Loved it.
roped into babysitting a couple times.
Loved it.
And they were pretty young at that time, so there was a lot of energy at the Henderson house, and which spilled into Fortin Gymnasium as well, much to Terry Corey's dismay, because my kids kind of ran amok a little bit in the small gym and in the aerobics room probably, but so there's all of those things kind of going on, and I think this is life, right? Like, I just think about, like sometimes I'll catch myself, I'm having a bad day or something like that, and I'll go out and I encounter somebody who, I don't know, maybe they're having a bad day too, and we have, better yet, let's say, like with one of my kids, if I'm having an interaction with one of my kids and they're in a bad mood or something like that, and and I'll kind of catch myself saying, well, why don't they understand that, I'm having a hard day? Well, that's my world. Like, and I think we all do this, like, this is what's going on in my world.
Yeah.
And we have a hard time breaking down that wall and saying, hey, what's going on with them right now too, that's maybe causing some friction between us, or, understanding each other, just so that, we know, just that understanding that, this isn't everything, and that's, I think, one of the things that I've learned over the years. And, we talked about it, I used to do those NBC camps and talked about the NBC bubble, how, it's so easy to be a Christian that week at NBC camp because you're surrounded by Christians and we're talking about God and we're talking about basketball, the things that we're all fired up about. And, so then the weekends and we all leave Friday night, where are we going? Are we running down to the bar and hanging out, and, or, are we still living that life that we talked about all week long? And that's kind of the challenge, I think, one, as Christians, but also as people, is to be able to live your most authentic life and try to be that person on a day-to-day basis. And it's not easy. It's actually impossible to accomplish, that, you are, completely on point all the time.
Right.
But I listened to your podcast, earlier, and, you guys kind of touched on that. You and Linda kind of touched on that about, just living an authentic life. And that really kind of stuck with me too. Like, there's a person right there that, she walked the walk, like you had said on the podcast. And, I think that's such a great compliment, and she's an incredible human being, and a great family as well, husband, kids, they're all awesome. But, there's that perspective of, this is what's going on in my world. And then you have what's going on in your world. And then that part that intersects for us, and overlaps, and that's our shared space.
Yeah.
And, and I look at some of the, the events and some of the things that happened with us, and a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. And there were some hard times there for us too. And, those are, I think you need to look at all of those experiences, if you're truly trying to continue to get better, and the whole idea with, like your podcast, take a halftime, evaluate, you turn 40. So now you're looking at life and, how do I live my second life? And I love that. And I wish you would have told me this when I was 40 so I could have done the same thing. But, it's such a great concept, and it's going to be so valuable, and especially to us, basketball minded or athletic minded people, our world kind of evolves like that, or transforms like that.
It makes sense for us to think through like the halftime of the tweaks, the changes, and then how do we want to show up, and be more authentic and genuine. And as you said, then when we mess up, okay, well now how do we reorient? And you're right, we did have so many great experiences with bus trips. And I remember you would one trip you were making sure that we had a TV with a VHS tape so we could watch Mulan or something, and you were standing up on the front chair and trying to Jimmy rig some little, just things like that are, as we're driving home in the middle of the night from somewhere North Dakota, and all that shared space and time. I've mentioned this phrase a lot. I think about this in my life: do as I say, not as I do. But truly what we emulate is what people do, and that you've always just been a model of someone who's trying to do the right thing and share the message that's of be a good person. And it's bigger picture. It's not just this basketball or just the statistic or just winning. So as we look to wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, I wanted to share one of the last stories of you and me in the book is when I was a junior. I just finished my third season, and I was in the spring, and I realized I had an opportunity to graduate early and to student teach the next fall, and which would mean the decision of not finishing my senior year playing basketball. And I wrestled with that for weeks and weeks and months, and had so many conversations with my parents and my brother and Jeremy. And I remember tapping you on the shoulder or catching you after a spring workout in the weight room and saying, hey, can we go meet at Red Robin tomorrow? And you looked at me, and we kind of had an eye lock moment of understanding, I think. And then we went to that lunch, and both of us talked about how vivid that memory was for us and the emotion. And anything you want to kind of add to that or share as we sign off here? I know we could just keep talking.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I remember that moment. I remember when you asked me to meet, and I came home that night and talked to Lynette, and I'm like, oh, gonna go to lunch with Jamie tomorrow. And we were both sad. But at the same time, I knew you were gonna graduate early. I don't know how I knew. I guess, I tried to keep up on your guys' academics. So I kind of knew you were on track. But, that's, I guess, when it started to kind of hit me a little bit. So I was a little prepared coming in to the lunch. But I do remember, when you were able to, and you did such a great job in the book of, playing out with the waitress interrupting and all the stuff. And, but yeah, there was a lot of emotion there. A lot of, I was, sad that I wasn't going to have you for another year. I was sad that things basically, your basketball career had played out how it had. And, I take a lot of responsibility for that. I wish I would have been a better communicator. And again, hindsight 2020, and hopefully I learned from that, but who knows? But at the same point, there was a lot of emotion with all of that. The goal was always to bring you guys in, play basketball so that you could get your degree and go on and be productive members of society. And yeah, you are a shining example of that for sure. And but it was it's bittersweet, when
Yeah.
all the emotions that we had that day. But always been super proud of you from before you signed at Rocky, while you were at Rocky, you were the epitome of what we wanted in a student athlete. And I think I've told you this before, but I kind of I look back at players, and I kind of feel like you guys are like an extension of our family and daughters almost to me. And I just thank you for sharing the rest of your life with me and my family.
Yeah.
It's you are a known person in this household, obviously, and just a member. So
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
but that
I
day
feel.
was pretty poignant. Yes.
Yeah, I want to keep talking and know we have to honor the show's time. But thank
Yeah.
you, Coach Henderson. And I think a takeaway for me here is yes, the importance and power of self reflection in hopes that we are moving forward. We're not stuck in the past. We're not getting, stuck on a loop of regret or whatever that doesn't serve us. And I appreciate the conversations we have and know that you and I both are trying to keep the eyes forward at the bigger picture and take away the important things, which is this continued relationship. So thank you so much for being on here today. Tell Nan and the kids hi, and we will connect again soon.
Thank you. Tell Jeremy and the kids all hi.
All right. Bye, Coach.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the second half with me, Coach Duprey. Tune in on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where you will be encouraged to make connections in your life that will dare you to explore powerful growth personally, vocationally, and spiritually. For more information about me, my courses, my coaching, and my books, and how I can support you on your journey, find me on my website, coachdupre.com. See you next time.